Hi, this is the first video in the new apartment. Ignore my wall, there's a lot of gaps because things were falling, but I just need to put them back up. Today, we are going to take pictures and I'll walk you through how I take them and how I edit them. I've never videotaped myself taking pictures and like try to explain it, but hopefully you can kind of see my movements, and then the editing part I can explain better. The photo taking part is like not as fun, I guess, for me because it takes a lot of energy. If I don't talk too much during that part, sorry, but maybe I'll do a voiceover. But yes, tag along with me as I take these photos. So yesterday I took these photos, and how I took them was I pointed the camera towards my mirror and then looked at my mirror. So let me set up my camera first. This is the camera I use. It's a Canon DSLR EOS Rebel T7. I don't think it matters what camera you use, but I really recommend Canon just because they have a really good mobile app. You can use the phone as a remote, so you can take pictures of yourself. You're gonna click menu, Wi-Fi function, connect to smartphone. The camera has its own Wi-Fi, and so you connect your phone to the Wi-Fi. Here he is, Carl. That's the name of this camera. And then we'll go to the app, and it looks like this. Ignore how messy my desk is. Remote live shooting. Booyah! It shows what the camera is pointing to, and then you can, what? Okay, should be a little lower. Maybe lower her a bit. My god, my glasses are on the floor. What the fuck is going on? Alright, I think that's perf. So this is what the camera is seeing right now. I want it to see more of me. It just takes a lot of maneuvering. So this is what the camera looks like right now, and it's like the perfect shot. This is like what I'm looking for. And before I take pictures, I like to dab on a little bit more lip product. Just because in photos where you're taking it with like a camera, it gets really obvious if your lips don't have some color to them. There we are. You're about to see me pose in real time, and it's kind of embarrassing, but that's kind of the point. When you're taking pictures, don't be afraid to do weird faces or make weird poses or do something where you're like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because then you can just delete it later. But in some cases, it actually ends up working out really well, and you're like, I'm so glad that I did that weird little thing. Also, when you're taking pictures, in terms of posing, make sure that you kind of have a variety of different expressions or poses so that if you're posting several photos, they don't all give off the same vibe, and it makes like the collection of photos more interesting. Also, I'm not the most qualified. I'm not like a model or a professional photographer or anything. This is just what I do when I take photos. Let's begin. Ugh. Ugh. It keeps coming out. Not focusing on my face. When I take pictures, I like to look to the side a lot, or like look up into the corner. And I also like to use my hands just to add like some dynamic. And I like to do a lot of expressions like angry or scared. The scared ones don't usually work out, so I delete them, but I still do it every time just in case it ends up working out one day. And then I keep the remote like right in front of the mirror so I can look at it. I also like to add props and stuff, so Cammy's about to be used as a prop, so just a sec. Oh, that's what I was missing. Come on, bae. Be kind. I have enough close-ups. All right, let's try. I don't have any earrings in. I just realized that. Hi, I'm taking photos in the bathroom now. This is what I mean when I say to do weird things, because you can just delete them later. I wanted to do it in here to see if I could get better poses. You might see me do some weird little squats so I can get in the frame, but that's just what it takes. I'm gonna go grab my lipstick for a prop. Sometimes that happens, and then we just pretend it didn't. Having a tripod is really amazing though. And I like to test shots this way by like posing and then seeing what it would look like on my phone. Okay. Whew. Oy, 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 oy. Okay, I actually hate this location, and all the pictures I took here are probably not the best. I tried it. I don't know if I'm gonna like these. I'm probably gonna move back to my room because I don't know if I like the lighting here. At least I tried. Hey y'all, so it's actually the next day, but I wanted to show you how I edited the photos and the post process. I didn't want to record it live just because it takes like hours sometimes, or it just takes a very long time because I'm like figuring things out and like experimenting. But I'll walk through how I edited one of the photos right now. So I edited on my iPad and I use Lightroom. I'm gonna use this photo as the reference photo. So this is what it looked like before, and this is what it looked like after. The most important thing is masking. So what I do first is I select the subject, and it does it automatically for you. Sometimes it doesn't account for like certain parts of the background or certain parts of you, and you're gonna have to go in yourself and use the brush tool. And what you can do is you can add or subtract depending on what you want to do. And then I will just use my Apple Pencil on my iPad and then fill in whatever wasn't included or what needs to be taken out. But for this one in particular, the subject was perfectly selected. So thank you, Lightroom, for that. First mask I'm gonna do is the one that's on the outside, and then I'm gonna make one more just like So I edit the background first. The first thing I want to do is make the background a little whiter so it's like a backdrop, and I'm gonna do about 95 because I don't want it to be too overexposed. I'll up the contrast by like 10. It doesn't really matter because it's white. Whatever you do won't really affect it. It's just gonna look white. But I like to add a little something for everything just in case. Here I'm just doing a bunch of random things since the background's white. I just like to do it for fun. Nothing's really changing about the background. But this matters more if you have like a background that's not a solid color. For optics, I like to do 100 for moire. I don't really understand what all the different words mean, but from my experience, I think moire is what like blurs the background out more, and so it looks more like a camera lens when you take a picture with a professional camera. And then I just like to do like 15. All right, so the background's done, and now it's time to edit my actual face. And how you edit this is definitely more important because that's what people are gonna look at more. I wanted to up the exposure a bit to kind of brighten my face compared to the background. And I wanted to contrast because since I'm putting more exposure, my face is not as defined. And this is me just playing with Lightroom to get the look that I want. Since my makeup is blue in this picture, I wanted myself to have more like a cooler tone. So I'm gonna add a bit of blue. I wanted to add a bit of pink to my face because I felt like the overexposure was taking away some of that pink. And then core saturation. I don't want to do too much because I'm going to be editing them again in VSCO. So I'm kind of editing it to make a better raw photo, if that makes sense. Texture smooths out your skin a bit, and it just makes the entire photo a little more smooth. Depending on the photo is how much amount I'll put, but for this one I put about 60. Because I don't want to put too much where my face looks too airbrushed, but I want to put enough where it looks like a good photograph, you know? And then for clarity, I'm going to add clarity later for the entire photo, but just for myself, I like to take away some clarity to soften my face. I kind of wanted my face to look a little hazy, so I'm gonna not dehaze it, do the opposite of dehazing. Here's where I'm gonna add a bit more definition with sharpness. And then I don't do any optics when it comes to the subject. Now onto the actual photo. I wanted to up the exposure a tiny bit more, just to give it more of that like dream, glowy, soft look. And then up the contrast a bit. It was looking a little too bright, so I took away some of the highlights, took away some of the shadows so that my face stood out more, and darkened the blacks and lighten the whites. Now I'm going to mix so I can edit each color individually. For the red, you can see my lips are a little pink in here, but I thought that that color didn't really match the vibe I was going for. So I definitely wanted the pink to be a little more saturated, or the red, but I wanted a different hue. So I went for about 10, and then I darkened it a bit so my lips can stand out a bit. Orange, I felt like I was looking a little too white, so I added a bit of orange in there. Taking away some of the yellow. This really is just up to you and your preferences. There's no green, so I didn't bother editing it. Definitely wanted to edit the blue because my makeup is blue, and that's like the central theme. Here's where the magic happens, this deep blue. And then I darkened it a bit because I wanted to stand out more on my face. Purple, there's not much purple, but I didn't want there to be that much purple, so I'm taking it down a notch. And then I'm making the purple have a bit of a bluer hue to fit with the blue vibe. And then pink. I just felt like there was too much pink on my face, that it was distracting from the blue. So I brought it down a lot, made it a bit more pink, and darkened it a bit. And now for temperature, I wanted to make the photo a little more cool. A little bit of green because there's a lot of pink going on already. Up the vibrance. Let's do about 7. Again, I'm gonna edit these again, so I don't want to do too much. And then with texture, I'm gonna soften it a tiny bit more, but not too much, like about 15. Now I'm gonna add clarity since it's the entire photo. Dehaze it. Always add a vignette. I love vignettes. The positive aspect is a white vignette, and then going negative makes it black. And then I like to kind of make it a little bit bigger so the vignette is not as obvious. And then finally, I'm just gonna sharpen it. And there we go. This is before and this is after, just with Lightroom. And now I'm gonna export that and go to VSCO. So here's the photo. I'm gonna create a draft. So what I do is I go through every single preset, favorite the ones that I think suit the photo, and then I go through all my favorites and narrow it down to 1. And this is what I did yesterday. So I narrowed it down to AL1. I just like how it didn't change the photo too much, but it added a bit of lightness. I think I'm gonna do about 7. And then I'll go to exposure. It's already pretty exposed, so I wanted to take it down just a bit, about -0.3. And then I wanted to bring up the contrast a bit more. The next thing I do is HSL, which is this last one right here. And then I edit each color one more time. I wanted to up the red a bit. I felt like I muted it too much, and make it a little bit more pink. Darken it more again so it stands out more. Orange, I wanted to bring it up a bit to add color to my face. Make the orange a little brighter, and then lighten it to kind of soften it up. For yellow, I just didn't want a lot of yellow in this photo, so I took it down again. Made any remaining yellow more orange and brightened it. Green, there's no green, so I felt like there was no point. And then with blue, I wanted a lot of blue in here because that was the main theme. So I went up to 1.5. I wanted it to be more of a purplish blue, a darker blue, and then I lightened it just a tad. And with wanted a little bit of purple in there just to add some color. I lightened it so that it was a bit softer. Next is Vignette. I want to add just a tiny bit, like 0.3. You're gonna see me use a lot of 0.3s. I feel like that's like the number that I use. That's my safe number when it comes to editing. Next, I'll do skin tone. Positive makes it more green and negative makes it more pink. Now that I'm looking at it, some green would have been nice, but what I did was I did negative 0.3 just to put a little pink in there, because at the time I felt like my face was too white. And then white balance. Again, I wanted to make it a tiny bit cooler, a tiny bit more green. There you go. And then highlights. I wanted to take down the highlights just a bit, but the shadows were fine, so I didn't want to mess with it. It was looking too saturated for me, so for saturation, I brought it down to a negative 0.3. For clarity and sharpen, I do 0.5 just to up the quality of the photo. And there you go. That's the edited picture. Here's before and here's after. I like VSCO just because I feel like it adds that artsy element, or at least it makes the photos look a little bit more editorial, whereas Lightroom just fixes up the basics. Through VSCO, you can kind of make it more your style. A really cool thing about Lightroom and VSCO is you can edit and paste settings. So for the photo I just edited, I'm gonna copy the settings. They're all edited now, so I'm not going to do it, but I just select all the photos I want to edit, you know, and then I'll paste right here. And you can do the same thing for VSCO. You can copy the edits and then paste it to any other photo you want. This comes in handy when you have photos that were taken in the same lighting and you just want them to look the same. And even after you paste settings, what I do is I like to go back to every photo and just kind of tweak it a tiny bit so that it fits that specific photo more. And yes, that's it. That's how I edit my photos. This is my first time ever explaining it, so let me know if there's anything I need to clarify or expand on more. I follow that same process for every photo that I take, but I edit it differently, of course, based on what the photo looks like and what I want the photo to look like. At the end of the day, post is what matters most if you're taking pictures of yourself, because when you're taking pictures of yourself, obviously that's a lot different than someone taking pictures of you with angles. You don't really know how it looks until after, etc., etc. So perfecting your editing style will really help self-portraits if you're into that. Hopefully this video wasn't too chaotic. I've never filmed myself taking photos before. Maybe I'll try again in the future because I have a lot of shoots that I want to plan and do this summer. I also really want to start a magazine this summer, or at least look into it, and hopefully take pictures of not just me. Let's look forward to that. Hopefully. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope this video was helpful in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. I have a lot of things planned, a lot of variety, and hopefully everything will work out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye!